Come all you rounders if you want to hear a story about a brave engineer. Now, Casey Jones was the rounder's name. On a 6-8-wheeler, boys, he won his fame. The caller called Casey at 4:30. He kissed his wife at the station door. He mounted to the cabin with his orders in his hand. Took his farewell trip to the promised land. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Casey Jones with his orders in his hand. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin. Took his farewell trip to the promised land. Put in your water and shovel in your coal. Put your head out the window, watch the drivers roll. I'll run her till she leaves the rail, 'cause I'm 8 hours late with the Western Mail. He looked at his watch.
David Mays here, the Video Bard, producing videos to inform, entertain, and inspire. And I welcome you all to my train room. As some of you know, I've had a lifelong interest in anything having to do with trains or railroads or whatever. Like to go riding on trains just for the fun of it. I like to read and study the history of railroading and what, learn from that. Here, show a couple of books on that subject. Here we go. Here's one here. Here's another one. Like I said, lots of books available. And of course, I also enjoy building the models. As you see here, I got a little train layout I've been working on. It's a little switching layout I've been working on. Here's an example of a freight car that I built from a kit that I got a couple years ago. There we go. All right. And what I want to do today is talk to you more in detail about a kit that I built. And, and got to talk about my experience of building it, the things I did with it, and of course, something which I will be putting on this layout soon. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get aboard the train and highball on down the line. All aboard. Alrighty. Here's the model I want to show off to you today. This is an HO scale model of an old wooden water tank of a style that might have been built from, say, the mid-late 1800s into the early 1900s. This is something you might find along, at a factory site or maybe on a farm. So find a place to store water for later use. Like I said, this is actually originally built from a kit that I bought years ago. The kit itself I bought at a local hobby shop, I don't know, probably around 20 years ago. And by the time I got it, I think the kit was already around 20 years old then. So if you look at something, the base age is around 40 years old. It comes from a kit. Let me show you here real quick. It's part of the instructions that came with the kit. As the instructions say, so it's a factory water tank. It was based on a prototype that existed in Gold Center, Nevada, a late 19th century era, gold mining town. It was used at the Gold Center Ice and Brewing Company. Basically, it was a brewery. And is typical wooden water tanks during the late 1800s and early 1900s. And if you look there, got a photograph of what the kit would look like. It was built pretty much straight out of the box, as the instructions show. The company that made the kit, originally called Frontier Replicas. Here you go. Fountain Valley, California. I think it was a model train company. It was active, say, mid-late 70s, early 1980s. And basically, I guess somebody had it running out of the garage or some similar situation. So I think that company actually did make some other kits, but right now this is the only thing I'm aware of. Plus a woodworking tool that some people still like. That apparently was very popular at the time, and people still seeking out. Anyway, like I said, this is originally built from a kit I've had for a while. As a case where I bought the kit on a whim, let it sit on a shelf for, I don't know, several years. Then looking for something to do, found I still had it, so hey, let's go and build this. The actual, construction started out, building the base here, the supporting framework for the tank. And I did that over a little period of time, then sat back on the shelf for a while, and then here last summer said, hey, let's go and finish this. So that's what you got here is, of course, the finished product. The way I built the kit, the way I built this thing is started out putting together all these bits of wood right here. This is basically, strip wood. Probably made out of basswood. Here's some examples of some pieces from another kit. And of course you also buy this stuff separate if you want to kind of do your own scratch building, whatever. But the kit, itself just was basically a box full of, wooden pieces that I then came back and cut the length and glued together, mostly using, wood, yellow wood glue. The way I built it, of course, originally started, I actually painted all the wood pieces first. Most of the paint is kind of a dark gray craft paint, cheap craft paint you find at Walmart, Michaels, Hobby Lobby, whatever. And basically painted each of the pieces, then went back with a piece of paper towel and kind of wiped some of the paint off where it dried. And then came back and painted again using a wash made again from some white paint, white craft paint. Again, been watered down. And some of this I actually came back with some watered down black paint. It watered down even more, get that wash to get the weathered effect. And then actually, a lot of this wood, I then came back with a little wire brush and rubbed it over the wood, get down back down to that gray layer, give that heavily weathered look. So the effect is of something which, if I was to guess, maybe was built maybe around 1904, 1905, and is still in use, say, by the mid to late 1940s. So in other words, whoever owns this, a farmer or some, used a factory, it's a case where, it's showing its age, but it still works. It still does its job. So nobody's going to really worry about how it looks as long as it's still, holding water. And again, built the support structure. I also built the platform that the tank sits on. The tank itself is, again, wood strips glued along the side of a piece of papered tubing. It looked like something may have originally been used to hold receipt paper for a cash register. Again, weathered the wood, glued it onto that piece of cardboard tubing, and then I went back and cut some strips of paper, just some typing paper somewhere, and then painted the paper a dark brown color, and then glued it on there. So the color represents, say, old steel strapping that's used to wrap around the tank and help hold it together. Especially when it's got water in there, you want to make sure it doesn't leak. Where I changed from the original kit, I did something different with all this superstructure up here on top of the platform. If you remember that photo, here, grab it. You look at how I originally did it in the kit. The uprights, let me do this. These uprights here, to me, look kind of weak. I mean, it didn't look like they were strong enough to really hold up the roof. So I decided to do something different. Basically, I came back and made this superstructure out of some strips of plastic. Here's an example, some right here. This is produced by a company called Evergreen Scale Models. Basically, it's little strips of styrene plastic, which again you can buy in these packages like this for doing various craft projects or hobby projects. And picked out some sizes that I liked and just glued it all together using styrene cement. Then after the glue had dried, I went back again, got some of that gray craft paint, painted it on there, let it dry. I think I may have actually, a lot of that plastic went over it with some fine sandpaper, give some tooth, some texture that the paint could stick to. Again, painted it with the gray paint, came back in with some of that white wash, and also again some of the black wash to give that weathered effect. Then the roof itself, again, made that out of some sheet plastic. Again, same company, Evergreen Scale Models. As a side note, there's other companies that make similar products, so there's nothing special about Evergreen, other than I just like the product. If we turn this, you can kind of look up in there on the roof. You should be able to see some of the rafters. Again, that's some more of that strip plastic. Again, the roof itself is made of sheet plastic. I then went back and painted it, again, kind of a white color. It was already white, but went over some more of the craft paint, and then went back with a black wash to give it a more weathered effect. There we go. And then did something different with the roof. The original roof, the kit, if I built it as it was shown in the instruction, this would have been made out against some wood strips. That's why, again, I want to do something different. So rather than going all that trouble, I covered this over with some material that kind of looks like corrugated sheet metal. Now that's actually paper. If you rub your finger across it, you can actually feel how smooth it is. That is actually paper that's had a design printed on it, so that from a short distance it looks like corrugated sheet metal. It's been out in the weather for a while, so you got all the streaks and stuff and other things. A company called Paper Creek Malls originally made this like 10 years ago. I don't think they're in business anymore, but you can still get the products and go hunting around. And there's some other companies now on the market that produce similar products. Again, the printed paper designs. There's even some websites where you can go and download photos people have taken of the side of buildings, brick buildings, wood siding, whatever, and print it out, and then they just play with it a little bit in the computer, get the effect you want. There's actually articles I've read where someone would go out with their camera, again, take a photo of the side of a building that they just like the way it looked, the coloring, the texture, whatever, and again, load that in the computer and play with it a little bit, and then able to print out, the textures, and then use that to make, buildings for the train layout. And like I said, if you look at it real close, you can see it's paper, it's flat, but from a couple of feet away, looks just like the real thing. And a lot of people, that's good enough. Save a little time and effort too. Glued the paper to the plastic sheet with just, again, some more of the styrene cement. Just kind of painted this liquid cement on there and then stuck the paper down on top of it, and it stuck right together. Up here at the very tip top of the roof is a final or lightning rod, if you prefer. And the way I made that, you see, turn that so it makes it easier to see that little brown square in the middle. The tip of that is actually the end of a toothpick that I just cut off. Had drilled a hole through the center of the roof, stuck the toothpick up in there, glued it in place, came back with a little bit of paper around the edges, to represent flashing, and then came back with that dark brown paint. Give effect of some weathered metal. Down here at the base itself is one I made that. The kit did not come with that. That's actually a piece of scrap paneling that I went back and kind of cleaned up a little bit and painted it some dark brown color. I then came back and put, basically in effect, painted on there white glue and then sprinkled on dirt onto it. And of course, once the glue dry, of course, the dirt stuck on there. Also came back with some scenery material, which is actually made out of ground up foam rubber in different colors. And the trick there is you probably paint in some glue down on there. You might water, just plain old white glue, might water it down a little bit, kind of just spread it on there, and then come back and sprinkle that foam rubber on top of it. And then the other trick would be, to make sure it stays on there, is come back with a bottle, a little spray ball of just plain water with just a dab of dishwashing soap in it, and just spray that on there till it kind of gets saturated. Then come back with some white glue that's been diluted with water, maybe approximately half and half, and just dribble it on there. And so when it's dry, it still looks like it's loose, but in practice it's all glued down together. It's not going anywhere. And you can kind of come back and put on layers. Originally, first layer was the dirt, then it came back with some fine ground up foam rubber, and then it came back with some more foam rubber. It's a little coarser grind in different colors to represent weeds and plants and other stuff that might be growing there. The tower itself is sitting on some what look like concrete blocks. So have it sit on those rather than have the post stuck directly in the ground, because then you have issues with rot. The concrete blocks themselves are made out of little pieces of wood. I think it's balsa wood. Cut that to shape. Painted an appropriate color. Do that. If you look here in the center, there's a pipe right there. That's supply pipe for the water. Apparently, in real life, a lot of times what we do is you actually have a pipe in a pipe. And I think the way it usually works is the inner pipe would be supplying the water. Just pump the water up into the tank for storage. And then when they needed the water, they'd open a valve somewhere, and the water then flows out through the outer pipe to where it's needed. And the idea is, of course, you're using gravity, to help provide the pressure, help keep the water flowing. Got a little piece of brass tubing on the end of the wooden dowel. Again, just suggested some sort of a pipe fixture down there. Again, a little piece of wood down there, a hole drilled through and painted, concrete color. The wood blocks, like I said, the concrete blocks made out of pieces of wood. and I'm assuming here they're concrete. Older installations probably would have used some cut stone, but same idea. Keep the wood away from the dirt. And apparently the way they actually hold the post in place is they actually have some sort of a large steel metal pin or spike in each block, and then they drill a hole in the end of the wood post and just set the wood post on the end of it, and that's what helps hold it in place. Other detail I added to this, did not come with the kit, but it's something added. Not sure how I can see it here, but look real close. You can actually see that between the legs there's some metal rods going between them. And the idea is those were applied when the structure was originally built, provide some reinforcement, keep the legs from spreading. The rods themselves are actually just brass wire. I just drilled holes through the legs, stuck the wires through there, glued it in place with super glue, and came back with that dark brown paint. If you look real close, there on the end, there's these little, in the photo, in the picture, it may look like just a little dot, but it's actually, look close, that's actually a little plastic casting that represents a nut bolt washer that was used to help keep the rods in place. Again, you can buy those hobby shop, order them offline, online, whatever. One of the other things added, got this ladder here. The kit came with materials to make a ladder. But I already had this ladder from another kit that was left over, and I just decided to use that. It's like, hey, I got this perfectly good ladder, just use that rather than going through the extra work. The ladder itself is plastic, but again, it's been painted to represent old wood. And of course, it allows someone who needs to, they can climb up the ladder, check on the condition of the tank, and then we're done, climb back down. Anyway, I'm going to turn this so you can kind of see the sides. I can think of that as the front. Let's go around here. There we go. There you go. That's the quote-unquote back side. And here's the other side. Alrighty. I hope you enjoyed seeing my water tank. And I enjoyed putting it together. Already worked on some other projects. Don't have a place for it on the train layout yet, but I mean, got this factory I'm planning to build for use on my little switching layout. And I'll probably put this next to it. Provide source of water for whatever manufacturing processes they got going on. Alrighty. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little trip down the line where I had a chance to tell you about this water tower that I'd made. And I hope you enjoyed the story. I will make sure this goes in a special place on the layout soon. In the meantime, I invite you to hit that like button or thumbs up button below. Give us that little vote of confidence. If you're for real dairy, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel where I got a bunch of other videos I've already posted, of course, which I'll be posting more soon. Do have some plans for some more videos where I get more detail of things I'm doing with the train layout, even how I do some of the, build some of the models, do the scenery, whatever. And if you're real daring and really feel generous, go to that little link down below where it says www.ko-fi/thevideobard and click that and go to the website called ko-fi.com. It's spelled K-O-F-I. It's a place where you can make a little contribution to help me with making more of these videos. Anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed the trip, and we'll be doing this again soon. In the meantime, train's pulling into the station. And we wish you all a good day. So that's all for now. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Put your head out the window, watch the drivers roll. I'll run her till she leaves the rail, cause I'm 8 hours late with that Western mail. He looked at his watch and his watch was slow. He looked at the water and the water was low. He turned to the fireman and then he said, we're gonna reach Frisco, but we'll all be dead. Casey Jones gonna reach Frisco, Casey Jones, but we'll all be dead. Casey Jones gonna reach Frisco, we're gonna reach Frisco, but we'll all be dead. Casey pulled up at the Reno Hill. He whistled for the crossing with an awful shrill. The switchman knew by the engine's moan that the man at the throttle was Casey Jones. He pulled up within 2 miles of the place. Number 4 was staring him right in the face. He turned to the fireman and said, boy, you better jump, cause there's 2 locomotives that are going to bump. Casey Jones, 2 locomotives, Casey Jones that are going to bump. Casey Jones, 2 locomotives, there's 2 locomotives that are going to bump. Casey said just before he died there were 2 more roads that he wanted to ride. The fireman said, what can they be? It's the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe. Mrs. Jones sat on her bedside, just received a message that Casey was dying. Said, go to bed, chillin', and hush your crying, cause you got another papa on the Salt Lake line. Mrs. Casey Jones got another papa. Mrs. Casey Jones on the Salt Lake line. Mrs. Casey Jones got another papa on the Salt Lake line.